Okay, so this is the second episode of the gear that we can't live without, and I am the only person to be in both. And my picks from the first one were my SG bass and, more importantly, the wiretap pedal. For reasons I explained, but the wiretap basically helps me make the videos in a way that I think is better. So I'm going to continue that theme a little bit from the angle of the guy who pretty much does the heavy lifting in terms of making the video and the behind the scenes part of it. So with that, my first pick of the gear I can't live without is the Warwick Power Lt Xl. This is a 9-volt mobile power supply, and this comes in handy for two reasons, or in two scenarios for what I do. The first one is when I'm shooting the pedals. I put them on our little SKB case that I kind of rigged to make a pedal stand, and it's just really convenient that I can put that case on whatever it's on anywhere in the room and power the pedal with this, assuming it's not like an 18-volt deal. If it's just your standard 9-volt, up to 1 amp. It goes up to 1 amp per output. So as long as it falls in those parameters, which most of them do, I am good to go with this. The second scenario in which this is convenient is on our mobile recording board that we take to places like NAMM or wherever we go to capture riffs on basses that we couldn't ever dream of buying. This powers the whole board. I have a wiretap on there, I have a tuner, and a B7K Ultra predominantly for headphone monitoring, and you can feed an auxiliary in. So that little board on Dave's 3D printed pedal board is my mobile, go anywhere, record anything at any time rig. And this makes that all possible.
Number one, no question, would be my MTD USA 53424 bass. That was my first custom bass with MTD, so I got to pick everything from the size and the scale and the color. I believe in letting luthiers that are, kind of masters of their craft. I don't tell them what to do. I give them what I want it to sound like, and then I let them do their thing. That's the whole reason why you fall in love with the companies that you fall in love with, is that you're attracted to their craftsmanship, their mastery of their skills. And MTD doesn't need me being their cheerleader. They've been around for a few decades, even before the all that stuff with Gibson and everything else. The new MTD stuff with Michael Tobias, the progenitor, and Daniel Tobias' son. I'm good friends with Daniel, and I had a hand from start to finish, which isn't tremendously special. Everybody gets to do that if you're getting a custom bass. But it was amazing. The whole thing was amazing, and having that bass on gigs, it's one of those things where it sounds completely perfect to me. And everybody has that in a bass that they own, where it's a level of comfort that you can hang your hat on. It just plays perfect, sounds perfect, it's perfect. That bass to me is perfect. Everything about it. I'm never gonna sell it. I will always reach for it. It's very versatile. It was an investment. It was that. But the argument that a lot of people make when they bring up their prices, if you find yourself buying the cheaper basses, the $500 basses, the $800 basses, you got 15 or 10 or 20 of those. If you didn't buy all those and you made that investment in a company that you really were attracted to, I promise you're going to reach for that bass more than any of the other substantially cheaper basses for whatever company you like, whether it's Spectre or MTD or Dingwall or Fender or whatever you pick. Make that investment in yourself, right? You want to be happy with your tone. You want to have that ability to, like I said, every time you reach for it, it's going to be good. You're not going to have to guess. You're not going to worry. You're not going to be concerned. It's going to be perfect. That's my number one.
I'm going to go. It's hard to choose. Two of my basses are very near and dear to my heart, but I'm gonna go for this pick. I'm gonna say my Steampunk bass, just because I kind of it's part of me. I kind of made it myself. Not a 100% scratch build, but I did put a lot of my own blood, sweat, and fingertips into it. That sounded weird. And of course, I got a lot of help from actual professionals. Shout out to Brubaker Guitars for that. But yeah, just having it is testament to the fact that, hey, if any dummy can do it, you can do it too, right?
Oh, God, the list, it's so short. Well, man, it's a toss-up, right? I'm not going to pick my wireless. I have a GLX D16 Shure wireless, which is great because I love going out in the crowds when I can and interacting with people and, you know, playing and doing shots or partying with people, whatever. I love that. But my number 2 piece of gear that I find myself absolutely always making sure is tip-top shape is my Omnicab Sim from DSM Noisemaker. I've had that on my board for a few years now. Daniel Schwartz Munoz is the creator of that from DSM Noisemaker. And he's super, super wonderful person. That piece of gear, it's a cab simulator that lets me dial in my tone tremendously well. I had that first before all of these other ones came out from all these other companies, and all these other companies that have them, they do really well in that respect for cab simulators. Darkglass, I use that one just as much with the updates and these other versions of these pedals that they have coming out where they have cab simulators built in. It's tremendous. It's great. But on my board, for what I always go to, because predominantly most of my gigs in Vegas, sadly, are all direct. Almost always. You know, they want to be able to plug and go fast. Sound check comes through. You do a sound check real quick if you get one, and then hope for the best. This lets you dial in all of those frequencies right on the pedal, and I have it in my signal chain. And it's a huge part of why I'm happy with my tone. And I'm that guy when it comes to pedals. I love pedals. I love proving people wrong. When everyone's like, bass players don't need pedals. I'm like, yeah, what year is this for you? Like, they are available. Just because it doesn't say bass on it doesn't mean you can't use it, right? You got to live in the now. I love pedals. I love being able to constructively use them and find ways to use them where they're, you know, whether it's subtle or tasteful or it's complementing the tune or it's an effect that you hear on the recording that you might not necessarily be able to, you know, to bring forth in a live setting. If that you have a couple pedals you can put together to get you close, that's great. It makes the song that much more enjoyable because people instantly recognize that and they identify with that better, and you get a better crowd response. Everything's better. The Omnicab Sim for sure from DSM Noisemaker, and I know that they made some other newer ones too. I think it's called the Humboldt Simplifier. I don't know. They do have them online retailers. I haven't talked to Daniel in a while. Hopefully he's good if he watches this. Hi, Daniel. But check them out. DSM Noisemaker, Omnicab Sim. Tremendous. Love it. Can't leave home without it. I have to have it for all my gigs.
All right, my other piece of gear that I can't live without, honestly, is going to be a shameless self-plug. This is... might be a little bit... Might sound a little bit contrived, but really it's honestly my Bullseye Buttons. So if you've seen a few of our videos where you see the wiretap in the background, it's got a big red plunger button on the foot switch. That is one of my buttons. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Thing. You're really on the ball. This guy with the bass channel logo, this was a custom Bullseye button that doesn't have a bullseye on it because it's got the bass channel logo on it. But I created these foot switch buttons just because I play at home a lot, just in my living room, and you know, you got bare feet, you got your socks on, whatever. The foot switches on some pedals, especially the really hard to switch ones, will kind of, you know, dig into your foot, and that sucks. So I designed and I 3D print these, and when I started doing that a few years ago, I had no idea that companies like Barefoot Buttons existed. So I might have invented an item for a thing that... I might have invented an item that already existed and didn't realize it. But you know, they kind of saved my feet. They make everything all nice and you can get them in bright colors to make your pedal board easier to see on a dark stage as well. So I'm going to shamelessly self-plug and say that these little guys are my other piece of gear that I can't live without, just because I make them and I use them.
Keeping with the video making trend, the second piece of gear that I can't live without is my Kemper powered profile rack. It's the powered Kemper that goes in the rack, whatever the hell it's called.
Kemper Profiler.
Kemper Profiler rack mount powered. You know which one. It's this one. The reason that I love this amp so much is that, again, you know, there's plenty of gear that we like, and there's plenty of gear that we test, particularly amps and or preamps, that I have to send back, like the Ampeg SVT that I would love to have, but I can't really shell out the money to have one. So when we had those SVTs, I just profiled them. And I took a DI out of the back, and the specifics don't matter, but either way, I profiled the SVTs, both of them, so I can have SVTs. And it sounds good. Like, when you're playing through it, you almost can't tell I mean, there's a slight difference in initial response on the attack, but it's minimal. But it's only when you're it doesn't matter. We're going to do a whole gear talk on it anyway. But the thing that works well for me is, now we can show off different basses through a variety of different amp tones, whether it be Ampeg or Orange or GK or whatever. Both amps and preamps I can profile and use. You can either make and or buy cabinet simulations, which is the second reason it's so good, is obviously, as you guys know, bass is loud. And when you're recording it with a microphone, you need to turn the gain up so you can turn your interface gain down so you don't get hiss. So you need it to be loud enough to sound good into the mic and the whole deal. Problem is, the neighbors don't quite share my enthusiasm for bass frequencies. So lately, and probably into the future, it's going to be more advantageous to record direct. Now again, I've AB'd the real cab to the Cab Sim, and they're pretty spot on. I won't use it if I don't believe in it. But the Kemper does it in spades, and if it doesn't, I also have other Cab Sims. But either way, there are 2 XLR direct outs that I can go straight into my interface. Everything sounds awesome, and we get to make a killer demo quietly. Or at least as far as this guy behind us, behind this wall is concerned, quietly. So yeah, those are my picks. The Kemper Profiler powered rack unit and the Power Lt XL. Both things in my thing have power in the name, so cue some Blind Guardian, and I will see you next time.